नमस्कार। सिंगापुर इवेंट में कुछ ऐसे लोग आए थे जो सिर्फ मुझे पैसा बोलता है ऐसे जानते हैं। वे पैसा बोलता है कि सब्सक्राइबर्स हैं। मुझे बहुत खुशी हुआ। अगली इवेंट मैं अबू धाबी में कर रहा हूँ। जो भी एमिरेट्स में रहते हैं और पैसा बोलता है कि सब्सक्राइबर्स हैं और मुझे मिलना चाहते हैं, मैं उनसे मिलने के लिए तैयार हूँ और खुश भी हो जाऊँगा। अगर इनफ लोग आते हैं तो हम सेपरेटली इंग्लिश या हिंदी में इवेंट करेंगे। अगर आप मुझसे मिलना चाहते हैं अबू धाबी में तो नीचे दिए व्हाट्सएप नंबर या ईमेल में मुझसे संपर्क करें। मेरे टीम से कोई आपसे संपर्क करेगा। नमस्कार, फिर पैसा बोलता है में आपका स्वागत है। आज रविवार है तो हॉट टेक्स का समय है। मेरे साथ मेरे भाई हैं। इस प्रोग्राम अक्सर जैसा रविवार को अंग्रेजी में भी होगा। What do you have, Vinod, for us today?
CASA deposits may fall further, says SBI chairman.
Because SBI, nobody in their right senses will keep balances in SBI.
Correct.
Most of the guys have their balances in private sector banks which give better services. So if you have gone and worked in SBI, it is a nightmare to work with SBI. And so the guys who are going to keep money will be keeping it in private sector banks. SBI had a great advantage because government used to keep their money in state bank. Now what the central government has done is they kept their balances in RBI to bring down their borrowing costs.
Correct.
And that's why this man is cribbing and there is no hope for SBI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tata to explore chip production with analog devices.
Yes, this I spoke yesterday. What they are trying to do is analog devices makes chips. So they are trying to tie up. Tata Electronics will make chips with analog devices, with end use being Tejas Networks, which does networks.
Correct.
And also with the Tata Motors, they have entered into a joint venture. So analog devices will give the design for Tata Electronics to make chips, which Tata EVs and Tejas will use. And once it is successful, we'll start selling to everybody. Like I said, Tatas are like a boa constrictor.
Correct.
So they will just
Slowly,
slowly wind their way around.
Yeah.
Where
And
they'll
start
make
squeezing.
they'll become another Foxconn. They're just mirroring Foxconn. And then 10 years down the line, maybe put a sticker and say
Tata Mobile.
Tata Mobile will come. But not today. 10 years from now, maybe.
Okay. Online festival orders will be harder to return. Online retailers are going to raise the bar for return to protect margins.
Yeah, because now to get people to used to online, what was happening is people were using
Return if you don't like it.
If they don't like it, they would take returns on easy terms. Now the terms are going to be more difficult for people to return the product. Yeah.
So why is Adani trying to buy our power, Anand?
Our power is sick. The government is trying to keep it alive. So it is one friend of the government taking over, helping the other friend of the government.
Government mulling lifting ban on non-basmati rice export. Why suddenly they're taking a U-turn on that?
Because the monsoon has been very good. And for a long time, farmers have not been allowed to export, nearly for a year. It is very clear that we are going to get a bumper harvest in North India. And because there'll be a bumper harvest, government expects prices to come down, which means farmers will have room to export more.
What about this? Why the hype for hybrid cars won't last?
This is an article in Economist. What Economist is trying to say is, in the last 1 year, suddenly the bottom has dropped out of the EV market.
Yes.
Because EVs have become more costlier.
Correct.
And what has happened is the sales of hybrid cars have taken off in a big way. And because hybrid cars have taken off in a big way, then the world is now, everybody is pivoting towards EV. In fact, Volkswagen had committed to make a completely electric transition by 2030. Now they are saying they will not make pure IC engines.
Correct.
This is because hybrid cars are cheaper to manufacture because they don't need very powerful motors. The motors required are smaller.
Correct.
So normally on the batteries that are there in hybrids, 40 to 50 kilometers is what they drive normally. Maybe some will claim more. But as battery begins to get cheaper and cheaper and more chemistry comes in, It hybrid cars, the price differential between hybrid cars and passenger cars will start to drop. Then there is another advantage. State like California has said by 2035, the maximum amount of IC cars, internal combustion cars, and hybrid cars cannot be more than 20%. And the European Union has been slamming harder by saying 2035 there should be no IC cars. So this will put pressure on battery makers to design batteries, which will take cars longer and longer.
Good, okay.
So there is a transition. This is a transition point. Like N. Chandrasekhar told of Tata's told in an interview to Autocar. The transition is taking place from IC engines to auto. The transit is going by a hybrid.
Correct.
This hybrid may last 10 years, but 2035 is maximum. But what he said is that within 30% of all Tata vehicles will be electric.
Okay. Google wins his fight of 1.5 with the EU ad fine. What is this?
Because there has been a claim that because Google has been using a monopoly, especially on ads and without using brokers. So EU put an antitrust fine of $1.5 billion. Google challenged this in court. And very clearly now the EU has lost and Google has won. But Google has become so big. So Google and Apple will be in target of antitrust. But threat for Google is not going to come from an antitrust court ruling, which will force it to break it up, but rather from a small startup company which will outstrip it.
Why is government now refund cap being raised to 50,000? The Sol Sahar fiasco. The government so far released 370 crores to more.
See, they have collected more than 20,000 crores from
Correct.
20,000 from Sahara and kept deposited in banks.
Correct.
But they don't know whom to pay. So they are asking all sorts of papers. So without full papers, they had kept the limit at much below 25,000. Now saying we can take the refund to 50,000 rupees because nobody is coming forward and claiming this is what is the I gave you the money.
Okay.
The other thing is this is also a very important thing. Arcelor.
Yeah,
See, Lakshmi Metals company bought SR Steel and invested heavily in India. For that, he had to Uttam Galva Steel also had to be rescued by him. But now what has happened, which both Tata Steel and Lakshmi Metal are complaining is that the government is not acting against the Chinese companies.
Correct.
The government is not acting against Chinese companies. And because the property market has dropped in China, so the steel is being produced in huge numbers and is being
Dumped
across the world and especially in India. For the first time, India has become a net importer of steel in a long time. And Indian companies are not able to sell enough. And there is already a big hue and cry in the market that the government should put heavy impose duty or outright ban import of steel. And so what Arcelor is saying is, we are not going to concentrate on the run-of-the-mill steel product, which is a commodity, but rather we are going to make high-margin products which will be easier to sell. आपने इस पॉडकास्ट को सुना, इसके लिए मैं आपका आभारी हूँ. हो सके तो इस वीडियो को लाइक कीजिए, हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कीजिए. इस वीडियो को अपने दोस्त और रिश्तेदार के पास भेजें और उनको देखने की आग्रह करें.